This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel Strat-O-Matic Baseball EXCEL Game of the Week.
Welcome back, baseball fans, to the game of the week in the 78-81 Fall League series between Boston and Baltimore in the American League East. This is a best-of-5 series with playoff aspirations on the line here. A little bit of history, too. 2 years ago in the Fall League, in what would be the 76 through 79 period, Boston won the World Series, beating the Philadelphia Phillies. That was in the summer of 2020. Or, excuse me, not the summer, but it was in the fall of 2020 into 2021. Has like a basketball season schedule, if that makes any sense. And then a year later, last year, the Orioles won the World Series, beating the Cincinnati Reds, which is interesting because the Orioles went to a World Series in 79, and the Reds won the National League West in 79. So the last two teams to win the World Series in this Fall League are still trying to get into the playoffs. In a best-of-5 series that's opened up in Baltimore for a Game 1. Let's take a look at what happened in Game 1. Louis Tiant, the ace for the Red Sox, having kind of a rocky year against Mike Flanagan, a 1979 American League Cy Young winner. And this is all about the long ball, folks. In the first inning, a single, and then with 2 outs, an error by first baseman Dave Stapleton, who's normally a second baseman, but he makes an error at first, setting the table for a 3-run homer by John Lowenstein. But in the fourth, the Red Sox have ideas. After a single, Jim Rice, 2-run homer. And then after a double, it is Dave Stapleton with a 2-run homer off Flanagan. It's 4-3 Sox. Bottom of the fifth, seldom used shortstop Len Sakata with a solo homer. We're tied at 4. It stays this way. Both Flanagan and Tiant are allowed to continue. They do pretty well in the later innings. The Red Sox get a leadoff double by Freddie Lynn in the ninth and 3 straight outs. In the bottom of the ninth, though, a walk. Eddie Murray hits a ground ball to shortstop Fred Stanley, acquired from the Yankees. He boots it. And then, with runners at first and second, Joe Nolan walks this thing off with a single. Baltimore wins 5-4 in Game 1 in Baltimore. And let's jump to the current standings in the American League, right over in here. All right, so with this victory in Game 1, the Orioles are now 15-11, and the Red Sox, that hurt. That loss really hurt them now. They're 13-15 now, and it's starting to slip away. They have to rip off 3 straight wins to win the series and finish a game over 500. But the Expos are done at 15-12, and they would need a miracle because you get the Brewers and Twins, both 2 and 3 games over 500. So that loss effectively knocked the Red Sox out of the playoff hunt. Now they need to play spoiler and eliminate the Orioles. Orioles 4 over, Expos 3 over, and then you have these two teams will play each other, Brewers and Twins. A combined 5 over, so you figure one of these teams will be at least 3 or 4 over. The Expos pretty much need to root for Boston to win the series over Baltimore, so that the Orioles do not continue to go 4 or more games over 500. And the Expos also have to root for, I guess, the Twins to beat the Brewers, but not by too much. But win that series 3-2 or something. It's going to be tough for the Expos because the American Leagues, some of these teams are doing very, very well. And, yeah. Yankees have clinched, Indians have clinched, Royals have clinched. And yes, the Angels, one of the weakest division winners in a very weak West, they've clinched. Is the only team with a winning record. So, Game 2. We're still in Baltimore for a Game 2 and another great matchup, folks. We've got the Spaceman, Bill Lee. We saw him against the Yankees earlier in the Fall League. Against number 4 starter and a World Series hero from a year ago over the Cincinnati Reds, Scott McGregor. Let's get started. From Baltimore, leading off for the Red Sox, it'll be Tom Brookins. 3-6 is a base hit. He's a base stealer, but Baltimore has Rick Dempsey and a -2 arm catching. Freddie Lynn, 48, is a base hit off of McGregor. He's got a reverse platoon, weaker against lefties and righties, so Lynn bats second and reaches off the McGregor card. It's a single to center. Brookins will not try and go to third. Actually, Heisel's got a +2 arm in center, but you don't want to get thrown out on the bases when Jim Rice is stepping into the batter's box. Maybe reserve that running late in the game. Jim Rice with 2 on and nobody out. Here's the pitch. 3-10 is a walk, and McGregor's in trouble immediately. It's Dwight Evans. Here's the pitch to Dwight Evans. 6-11. Pitcher X. McGregor's an E0-1-6-3 double play. One of my home field advantages. E0 pitchers are automatically GBAs for the home team. That scores Brookins. Lynn goes to third, but there are 2 outs. And it's Carlton Fisk. 62 rolls to first. 1-0 Larry Heisel. 2-7 for Heisel's a single. He's a C stealer, but Fisk is catching. Mark Belanger, 1-6, is a 6-4-3 double play. Hate to see that from the 2-11 hitter, 2-13 hitter. Kenny Singleton, 1-4 is a K. Top of 2, it's Yastrzemski, 69, center. Chicken Stanley, 57 is a K, and the Hobber, Butch Hobson, pops to second base. Bottom of 2, Eddie, Eat, Drink, Emby Murray. 35 is ball 4. Lee May, 2-9, flies left. Doug DeCinces, 48, second X. This is Oster, very good, a 2-18 second baseman. And that is an inning double play. 2 of those. Thus far, for the Spaceman, we go to the third, and here is Ron Oster. Turn that nice double play. 2-5 bounces to third. Tom Brookins. 2-2 rolls to third, and with 2 outs, it's Freddie Lynn. 66 is a sky to right field. And the pitchers are settling down. McGregor is retired 9 in a row. It'll be Rick Dempsey. 65, sky's the center. Joe Rudy, nice little acquisition for the Orioles. 66. Lines to second. And Len Sakata. 2-9 is a walk. Larry Heisel, the big free agent acquisition in the offseason. 46. Skies the left field. All right, we go to the fourth. That'll be Jim Rice. 1-5 for Jim Rice. Let's take a look at the Jim Rice card. My goodness, folks. The magnificent year of 78. 315 average. 46 home runs, 15 triples. My goodness. And a 3, and an E4 defender, too. Does it all. Solo homer, and the Red Sox added the lead, 2-0. Dwight Evans. 1-6 for Dwight Evans. Let's take a look at him. Like this has never happened before. The Red Sox go back-to-back. His magnificent 1981, the year of the strike. 296 average, 22 homers. But he had 85 walks with only 412 at-bats because of the short season. He is your 1-5 E3 in right field. Absolutely stunning card of Dwight Evans. That is gone, and it is now 3-0. McGregor's got to figure things out here. Carlton Fisk, 45, pops to short. Yastrzemski, 6'11", pitcher X E0. And Fred Stanley, 210. Homer 1-3 fly ball, and he misses a home run chance and gets a fly ball. So it's 3-0 Boston. Bottom of the fourth, Belanger. 34, short. Kenny Singleton, 1-5. Let's take a look at the Ken Singleton card. His 1979 card, a career high of 35 home runs, 295 batting average. did walk 109 times. And 1-5 is automatic. It is gone. And these teams love the long ball. Nobody on base, though, so it's still 3-1. Eddie Murray. 4-4 off of Lee, center X, but Fredlin's out there, a 1-6 in center field. And with 2 outs, it's Lee May, 6-10, third X. This is a 3E34 of Brookins. And another error by Brookins. He has not ingratiated himself to the Fenway faithful. He's been pretty awful as a utility player. He was a Detroit Tiger, but he's having a really dismal year. Attempting to help the Red Sox, it's not working out. So, the tie run will come to the plate, and it'll be third baseman Doug DeCin saves. 3-4 is a roller to short. We go to the 5th. It's the Hobber, Butch Hobson. 1-6 is a K. Ron Oster, 48, bouncer to short. Shortstop is Belanger, of course a 1-8 short. And with 2 outs, it's Tom Brookins. 47 is a K. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th, but first let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
Okay. The Orioles can't catch the Yankees for the division, but they know very well about being a wild card. They were the wild card last year when the Red Sox won the division. Won the whole darn thing. Rick Dempsey, 2-10's a base hit. And your tie run is Joe Rudy. 55, second C. Runner moves into scoring position for Len Sakata. 3-12, foul to catcher plus injury. So, Sakata's out of the game. And Dower, who had the day off, Rich Dower, will move into second base with Belanger at short. 2 outs, Larry Heisel. 2-9 is a roller to third. Well pitched game to this point. Solo home runs and a bases loaded double play to this point. In the 6th we go. Fred Lynn. 3-10, skies the center. Jim Rice. 1-5. Jim Rice is in a world of his own. It's the Jim Rice world. We may as well call this the Rice Fall League. Because it's the Jim Rice League that we play in, and unfortunately for Jim, his teammates have let him down this year. As he's going to the World Series, maybe as an announcer or a spectator or something, I don't know, but yeah, he's going to the World Series. I don't know about the rest of the Red Sox. Another Jim Rice home run, folks. We'll look at his stats at the end of the video here for the destruction he's caused this year. 4-1. And the batter's Dwight Evans. 57K. They can't go back-to-back this time. And Carlton Fisk. 56 is a sky to right. Well, Mr. McGregor, not a big fastball pitcher, and when he gets one of those balls up in the zone against a Red Sox slugger, bad things happen and have happened. So 3 mistakes in 6 innings. 4-1 game, bottom of the 6th. Here is Mark Belanger. 49, single 1 of 14 off of Lee, but he doesn't get it and lines out. Ken Singleton hovered last time up, 3-7's a walk. Eddie, Eat, Drink, NB Murray, 4-4 is center X, but you got Fred Lynn covering more ground than the grass. He makes the catch. And with 2 outs, it'll be Lee May. 1-7 is a strikeout. Bill Lee, big game Bill Lee. Doing what he needs to do to even this thing up. And play spoiler. They had their playoff hopes dashed after a disappointing Game 1 loss, but really, they didn't have much of a chance. They had to be perfect, and it's hard to do that. They made their mistakes earlier in the year. We go to the 7th. It'll be Yastrzemski. 5-10. Off of McGregor, that's gone if you got power, and no, Yastrzemski against lefties in this year of 1979. Even with 21 home runs, they did not give him power against left-handed pitching, so that's a single. That's a shame. Fred Stanley, 1-4, is a 6-4-3 double play. And with 2 outs, the Hobber, Butch Hobson, 47, is a strikeout. 4-1 winnable game in Baltimore, even with all the mistakes McGregor has made to this point. It is stretch time. And we have been enjoying listening to Skin Deep, Crack the Sky. This is actually a 1980 release. Band often played on the radio in Baltimore during this era with hits like Hot Razors in My Heart and Pop Town and Skin Deep and so forth. Great music from an East Coast band, Crack the Sky. Alright, bottom of the 7th we go. It'll be Doug DeCinces leading off for the Orioles. 35 is a walk. Lee is a starter 7. We'll watch him carefully here. Rick Dempsey, 57 is a pop to first. Joe Rudy, 49. Rudy single out of 14. This time it's hit. It was missed by Belanger earlier. They finally got the hit on the lead card. That brings your tie run to the plate. But Sakata, who had power, as you saw in Game 1, was injured, so Dower, who does not have power, will step into the box. I think they'll leave Lee in there versus the pen at this point. And we'll see what happens at the top of the lineup. Rich Dower, 2 on and 1 out. Here's the pitch. 2-8 for let's take a look at Rich Dower's card in 1980. He was, I like doing this for stat purposes, could play second and third, often batted second, and better against righties than lefties. Foundational member, would help them win a World Series in 83. But more importantly, folks, he hit 284, but in 603 plate appearances, he struck out 19 times, folks. That's right. There was an era in baseball where people didn't strike out like they do in the present game. The snooze baseball that we're currently experiencing in these bad times. Yeah, there was a time where guys made contact, hit the ball, it went into the field, and guys ran around bases and threw their leather around, and they had, yeah, but that's a bygone era. Anyway, 2-8 is a single to left. DeCinces will not down by 3. He'll hold up at third. That loads the bases, and we go back to the top, and it's Heisel, who hit 34 home runs. Bill Lee is just broken. We're taking him out. 1 batter too many, but 6 1/3. He still qualifies for a win. He cannot get a loss in this game. Runs out of gas in the 7th inning with a 3-run lead, leaving the bases loaded, 1 out. You got Heisel. Belanger, who probably now has to bat. He'll have to bat because they lost one of their infielders to injury. On the bench, you have just Lowenstein and Nolan, 2 lefties. But neither can play second base or shortstop. So Bill Lee will leave. And look at a Randy Moffett will come in out of the Boston pen. Moffett was acquired in that all-season trade between the Giants and the Red Sox when the Red Sox shipped the Rooster, their shortstop. They couldn't afford to pay the Rooster anymore with all the other guys they had to pay, so they traded Rick Burleson to the Giants for Randy Moffett, some other people, to help the bad Boston bullpen. Bob Stanley used to be in the bullpen, that's now in the rotation, so here comes Randy Moffett in the 7th, the base loaded, 1 out. With a big 3-run lead, they're going to play it back for Larry Heisel. You see, Randy Moffett does not give up home runs to righties. 8-4 with a 3.29 ERA in 82 innings with the Giants in 78. So, infield's back. The pitch to Larry Heisel. 111 is a walk. You walks Larry Heisel. You got a 4-2 game, folks. Base is still loaded. You got to bring the infield up for Mark Belanger. I don't really like squeezing in this with them loaded. I'm normally a first and third squeeze guy with 1 out. But anyway, with bases loaded, I don't like the odds there. We are going to bring the infield up, and Belanger will hit away. Here's the pitch. 2-7 for Mark Belanger. Let's take a look at the card, folks. What the heck are you doing, Randy Moffett? The guy hits 213, no home runs or triples, and 13 doubles and 378 plate appearances. And you just walk Mark Belanger with the bases loaded. And that's an RBI, and here we go with Boston's troubles again. Trying to finish games. Bases loaded, 1 out. It's now 4-3, and now you got Singleton, Murray, and Lee May up. You wish you could play the infield back for an easy double play, but no, you got to bring it up as the tie runs at third. And it's Ken Singleton. Here's the pitch. 46 off Moffitt. You guessed it. Ball freaking 4. This has to infuriate Red Sox fans worldwide. And the Boston bullpen has 3 straight bases loaded walks, and now the game is tied, still with 1 out. And Eddie Murray is at the plate. Well, the good news is, for Boston, is that Bill Lee at least gets a no decision out of this mess. Bases loaded, 1 out. You got switch hitter Eddie Murray. And this is the problem with Baltimore. Singleton and Murray, back-to-back switch hitters, were just devilish to American League pitchers in the 70s and early 80s. No team had back-to-back switch hitters this good in this era, comparably. Eddie Murray is actually better against lefties. So I'm going to let Moffitt, whatever the hell his name is, try and figure this stupid thing out. And worst case, he gets a damn loss. So they'll bring the infield up, and it'll be Eddie Murray. And here's the pitch to Ed Murray. 4-11, first X with the infield up. Now you can get the double play. Yes. He is a 2E7 at first base. And it gets a GBA, and we are tied. A hot rocket to Yaz, who, instead of tapping his foot on the bat, he threw straight to the plate, and an easy throw back to him. And a 3-2-3 double play with the infield up. And Yastrzemski saves the Red Sox the embarrassment of losing the lead there. What a fun game this has turned out to be, miscues and all. It is 4-4, and with Baltimore, how long do you go with McGregor here? He was on the hook for the loss. He's no longer on the hook. He got a deep bullpen. And I think they're going to pull him. They're going to pull McGregor after 7. And they're going to put in Sammy Stewart. Doesn't give up as many homers as McGregor. Sammy Stewart will come on in the 8th. But Boston is much tougher against righties. So we'll see how that plays out. And it'll be Ron Oster leading off. 67 is a K. Tom Brookins. You could put, oh, for Pete's sakes, he's got plenty of power on his card. He'll swing away. 110, single 1 to 12. And lines out on a 17. Tough break for Brookins. And with 2 outs, the dangerous Fred Lynn. 2-7. Let's take a look at the Fred Lynn card of 1979. 333. Better card than his MVP of rookie year of 75. 39 homers, 42 doubles. He destroys right-handed pitching. My goodness, folks. And 2-7 is this double to left field. Runner in scoring position for 2 outs. Jim Rice. Do you walk him to face Dwight Evans? And you'd walk Evans at that point. Or he would walk, because he walked a bazillion times, which put Carlton Fisk up with the bases loaded. You got to walk through the fire and pitch to Jim Rice. He's only homered his last 2 at-bats. But you got to pitch to him anyway, Sammy. The pitch to Jim Rice. 67 off Sam Stewart is a strikeout. And Baltimore is still in a tie with the Sox in the bottom of the 8th. We have Lee May leading off against Moffitt, who is... Lee May's not very good against righties. Baltimore could go to their bench. I think they're going to go to the bench with John Lowenstein, who would play left, and Rudy would go to DH. And this would invite a lefty in from the Red Sox to face Lowenstein, and that is going to be Larry Bradford. So, Baltimore is prepared for Lowenstein to face the lefty. Let's take a look at John Lowenstein's card. He only had 5% against left-handed pitchers, but fortunately he's got plenty of walks in that, which makes him an ideal leadoff candidate here in the 8th inning. So Larry Bradford, take a look at Larry Bradford here. He was outstanding for the Braves in a short sample of 1980. 3-4 with a 2.45 ERA. And he's been very good for the Red Sox. The bright spot of the Boston bullpen this year. And it'll be Lowenstein leading off in the bottom of the 8th. 410 off Bradford is third X. And here's this Mr. Base hit off of Mr. Brookins. Oh boy. B Steeler. He's being held. He's not going to steal. It'll be Doug DeCinces. 66 is a base hit off of Bradford's card to left. Lowenstein's a 15 runner. Rice is got a 0 arm, but he's going to hold up. With 1 out, he may have attempted it. With nobody out, he won't risk it. So now you got Rick Dempsey. With 2 on, nobody out. The pitch to Dempsey. 55 off Bradford is second X, but this is a double play ball to Oster if he can turn it. 2-18, and he turns it. Lowenstein ends up at third with 2 outs, and it's Joe Rudy. 2-4 lines this third base. We got another thriller. Game 1 was 4-4 going into the 9th. Game 2 is 4-4 going into the 9th. And Sam Stewart's our long reliever. He's a relief 4. He'll continue. Dwight Evans, 1-3 flies to right. Carlton Fisk, 2-10s hit by the pitch. Yastrzemski made a great defensive play in the 7th. 46 off Stewart is a base hit into center field. Fisk is, he won't hold up at second. Won't turn that corner there. Tempted. Oh, that was so tempting. Actually, I already pumped the brakes on my thought. I probably should have gone around the corner. He had a plus arm in center field. I don't know. First and second, 1 out. Hesitated too much. Probably should have gone first to third. So it's Fred Stanley with 2 on and 1 out. Now he is coming out. I got one more. Oh yeah, Dave Stapleton. Not a lot you can do against Dave Stapleton, folks. Let's take a look at this guy's card. Dave freaking Stapleton, 1980 at 321. Could play everywhere. Utility player. It is his high mark. This is where he starts his career, and it trickles down after that, unfortunately. But what a great debut in 1980 for Dave Stapleton. Imagine if he played at a 321 level his whole career when Mr. Boggs shows up. Boy, that would have really helped the Boston team. Anyway, first and second with 1 out. Stewart will continue. And here is Dave Stapleton. 48 off Stewart is ball 4, and now he is loading the bases, much like Mr. Moffitt did. Bases loaded, 1 out. Butch Hobson. And the Orioles, play it up or back? You know what? They're going to play it back open for a double play. How about that? They're going to play it back. They want a double play here because they don't want to face the lefty Oster next. If they don't have to. They're going to play it back for Butch Hobson. Here's the pitch. 56. That's a sac fly to right field. So nothing you can do about that one. Runners are still at first and second after the sac fly and 2 outs for Ron Oster. 69, and that was a roller to second base. So they get the bases loaded sac fly. They don't have defense to reinforce. It's a 5-4 game. You got Dower, Heisel, 3 straight righties. And that means they're going to go straight to the righty closer, Stan Bonson. Take a look at Stan. Had a nice year for the Expos in 80. 7-6, 307 ERA in 91 innings. Has a chance to put a little damper on Baltimore's season here by getting a split in Baltimore. And it'll be Dower, Heisel, Belanger, and you do have the lefty Joe Nolan on the bench, but again, you don't have a player who you can pinch hit for other than Rick Dempsey, and he would not be batting in the 9th inning anyway. The game would be over one way or the other. So Rich Dower leads off against Bonson. 34 is a roller to the mound. And here is Larry Heisel. He is 1 for 3 with a walk to this point. 37, let's take a look at the Heisel card of 1978. Baltimore went out, gave up a lot to get this card between Minnesota and Milwaukee. Baltimore moved in. Turns out the Brewers didn't even need him. They really didn't. The Brewers had a mazillion hitters. Baltimore certainly did. They had no center fielder. They push in Heisel in a center where he's playing out of position. And basically, he turns into a pumpkin at the end of the season. So it's a high-risk move for this one-year rental, Larry Heisel. 3-7 is a single to right field. Now, he's a C stealer. And in one of the more curious moves here, You could have Belanger bunt to tie, which is intriguing with Kenny Singleton coming up and Eddie Murray, because Belanger is so awful as a hitter, and you can't pinch hit for him. And Heisel's an excellent runner. He's also a C stealer, but Yaz is a -2 arm. I don't like the stealing chances against the -2 arm. Belanger is going to put down a bunt to tie. I very rarely do this, but I do it for the home team. I never do it for the away team. A bunt to tie bunt. Here we go. It's a 4 bunt. That is a base hit. How do you not bring the infield up enough to know Belanger's probably going to bunt there? But yes, an A bunter roll of a 4 is a single. It's 2 and 3 for B bunter. A bunter, it's 2 and 4. And Belanger just bunts for a single. Oh my goodness, folks. Now you got 2 on, 1 out. Now you got a different can of corn. You got a different ball game here. Singleton, Murray, Lowenstein, 3 straight lefties. You already excused Larry Bradford from this game. You do have John Curtis. Curtis is an interesting matchup as he's a lefty who gets righties out. And do they, oh my goodness, do they do this? This is an interesting move. They're going to do it. They're going to pull Bonson. Pull their closer after the screwed up bunt attempt. And this is the guy they're going to bring in, John Curtis, an excellent pitcher for switch hitters. Here is the elixir for the Red Sox, John Curtis. He was also a Giant. Came over in a separate deal from than the Moffitt one. 4 and 3, 371 and 78. But as you see on his card, he's bad against lefties. He's good against righties. And in the reverse platoon, you got 2 switch hitters coming up. Then you have Lowenstein, who can hit lefties well other than walks. So, excellent move if it works out. If it works out. So it'll be Ken Singleton with first and second and 1 out against John Curtis. And here is the pitch. 46 is a K. That is a strikeout. A left-handed batter gets a single in that situation. It's almost like Singleton, you should just say, hey, just go into the left-hander's batter's box. I know you're a switch hitter, but Eddie Murray did that a few times when he was struggling with an injury. I think he batted as a... didn't do it very frequently, but it was a few times in his career where he did the conventional righty-righty or lefty-lefty when he had an injury. But anyway, speaking of Eddie Murray, he is at the plate. Let's take a look at Eddie Eat, Drink, and Be Murray's card. 1979, 295 average, 25 home runs, 676 plate appearances. He's got 2 on with 2 outs in a 5-4 game. Speedy Heisel is at second. Even Belanger could score from first on a double if it happens to win the game. And here is the pitch to Larry Heisel. Here is the pitch to Eddie Murray. 5-10 off Curtis is catcher's card. This will not do it, folks. Fisk is a 1E6, I believe. Let me just double check before I plug everything in there. 1E6, it ain't gonna do it. And it's a foul out to end the game, and John Curtis was the move. How about that, folks? Your long guy was brought in a special situation to deal with Baltimore's back-to-back switch hitters in the bottom of the 9th. And oh, what a big move that is in the overall standings of the American League. In this league, the Expos, Twins, Brewers are all watching this series closely, and Boston does escape with a 5-4 win and get a split on the road. Great game. Lots of strategy there. The first 6 innings of a game take like 5 minutes. The last 3 innings take like a half hour. Sam Stewart takes the loss. Gave up a sac fly. What can you do? A hit, a run, 2 walks. 2 hits, a run, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. McGregor, no decision, 6 hits and 4 runs. Just a walk and 5 strikeouts. The winning pitcher, they got the lead in the top of the inning, so Bradford gets the win. Curtis gets the save. Curtis struck out a batter. Bonson did get 1 out, but he gave up 2 singles, and none of them hurt. Bradford's 8th inning, 2 singles and a double play. Randy Moffitt's line. Well, believe it or not, just 3 walks. None of those guys scored off of him. They just hurt Bill Lee's ERA in the process. So Bill Lee does get charged, no decision, does get charged for 4 runs in this, thanks to Randy Moffitt. 5 hits, the 4 runs, thanks to Randy Moffitt. 4 walks and 2 strikeouts. What a line. 1019, 0109, 5849, 3773, 3773. And wouldn't it be appropriate that the last 2 world champions in the Fall League have just exchanged 5-4, 5-4 games? Nothing more perfect than that. So I will continue playing this series in Fenway Park for games 3 and 4, and then back to Baltimore for game 5 if necessary. We'll take a look at the year-to-date standings for the 2 squads. Boy, this American League East is a lot of fun. Yankees are a lot of fun. Orioles and Red Sox can't get all 3 of these teams into the playoffs. We'll hopefully get 2 of them in. A lot of history involved. You know, Boston is right there with the Orioles and Red Sox. Did not have a lot to show for it in postseason, of course, but they should have been. They are magnificent. And so I'll start with the Red Sox. So they improved. They get back to 14 and 15. 257 on the year, and that explains everything right there. They, for whatever reason, they cannot hit left-handed pitching like they should. 4.09 ERA. That's predictable. Louis Tiant is 2 and 6. Bill Lee is 2 and 3 with a bunch of no decisions. Offensively, though, we talked about Jim Rice, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Red Sox have played 29 games, and Jim Rice has 15 homers and 31 RBIs, pacing his team. 37 hits and 121 at-bats, hitting .308. So Jim Rice just destroying the American League. Now Baltimore is now in a dead heat tie with the Expos. They're both 15 and 12, and Baltimore has a best of 3 left with the Red Sox. They need to win 2 out of 3 to stay ahead of the Expos. They are hitting .237. They hit .240 last year winning the World Series. They don't have any .240 hitters on this team. Everybody hits .278 or better. So I don't know what this 2-year batting slump is about, but what I do know is their team ERA is 2.63. We know Baltimore could pitch, but they're pitching out of their minds. Offensively, Kenny Singleton's all by himself with 9 homers and 25 RBIs in 27 games. And the rest of the Baltimore offense has been very mediocre. Tippy Martinez, 5 saves, only 1 run in 12 innings in relief. And Baltimore starters, Scott McGregor is 3-0 with a no decision in that game. No decision, 7 runs in 38 innings. So McGregor has an ERA of 1.65 after giving up the 4 runs in the game you just saw. So that's where we are right now, folks, in the American League. Baltimore at 15 and 12, Expos 15 and 12, Brewers 14 and 11, Twins 14 and 12. We'll give you the results from the rest of the series as it continues in Fenway Park. Thanks for checking this thing out, folks. We'll see you next time. Well, baseball fans, I tell you, I could watch the Red Sox and Orioles play 100 baseball games in this timeline. It is always entertaining. They're always on the edge of the seat, and wonderful, weird, crazy, unusual things happen. Here's the box score of Game 2 that you just saw, with Boston getting that 5-4 win by holding down the fort in the 9th inning with John Curtis getting an unusual save. An interesting use of the bullpen. It worked for the Red Sox. They get the split in Baltimore. So what happens when this series goes to Fenway Park? This is great baseball coming up, folks. Game 3. Dennis Martinez, the most vulnerable Baltimore starter against lefties. He does not match up well at all against Boston. Against Bob Stanley, who has found something good in the rotation after struggling in the pen the last few years. Early on, it is a Lynn triple and an RBI single for Jim Rice. And then in the 2nd inning, a solo homer for Yastrzemski, 2-0, and you think it's going to be a bad day for Dennis Martinez. But it is not a bad day for Dennis Martinez. This is a 2-0 game. It stays this way into 7 frames. Bob Stanley, in 7 frames, has just given up 3 singles. But in the 8th inning, you get a leadoff double by Eddie Murray, a single by Joe Nolan, and with 2 guys on and nobody out in a 2-0 game, they decide to pull Bob Stanley and turn this thing over to Larry Bradford. against the weak-hitting Joe Rudi and Mark Belanger, who aren't very good against lefties. So with a 2-1 game, they have the infield back. They don't get a double play. They get a fielder's choice to make it 2-1. But Bradford gets through the inning. It's a 2-1 game. And then we go into the 9th. And in the 9th, Bradford tries to get the save, but he gives up a leadoff triple to Rich Dower off of Bradford's card. Then a walk to Singleton, then a walk to DeCinces, which actually breaks Bradford as well. Point of weakness, he's done. So you're winning 2-1, but the bases are loaded and nobody out. So enter John Curtis again. You just saw what happened. They bring him in to face the switch hitters and a lefty. Unfortunately, Lowenstein gets a single off the card that ties the game. Eddie Murray gets a single off of Eddie Murray's card to give Baltimore the lead. But then Curtis gets Dempsey, Rudi, and Belanger out with the bases loaded, nobody out. So Baltimore does take a 3-2 lead. And then Baltimore turns to Tippy Martinez, who has just been untouchable the last couple years in Strat after struggling prior to that. He's just been magnificent. He comes on, 3 up and 3 down in the 9th inning. Another 1-run win decided in the 9th inning between these two squads. Baltimore gets the road win. The road team has won 2 of the last 3 games. Extreme character for these two squads. Fun games to play. Just strategy throughout. Wonderful stuff. So what happens in game number 4? Game 4. It will be Jim Palmer, who pitched in the final game prior to this series starting. That's why he's pitching in a game 4. Versus the number 4 starter for Boston, Ranko. So Baltimore has the pitching advantage, and it starts early. Lowenstein with a home run. Joe Rudi finally wakes up with an RBI triple, and then Larry Heisel wakes up with a homer. It's 3-0. You have a feeling Boston's got to come back in them, and they get it in the 6th inning. After a couple guys reach, Palmer gets Lynn and Rice to fly out. Stapleton singles to load the bases, and with 2 outs and the bases loaded, it is Carl Yastrzemski, the heart and soul of Boston, with a 2-run single to make this a 3-2 game. And of course, it will go into the later innings and the bullpens will be needed. So, Bradford is called on in the 7th inning. Steve Ranko did a nice job starting. 6 innings, 4 hits, and those 3 runs, and that was it. Bradford did a nice job in the 7th and 8th innings, 6 up and 6 down. Palmer pitched through to the 7th innings, giving up 6 hits and 2 runs. But it becomes interesting in the 9th. John Curtis is brought in again for that 3rd particular situation in a row with the switch hitters that he's good against. The bases are loaded and walks, and how many times has Baltimore done that in this series? But out, and then with 2 outs, 1 out to get, and this game would have been 3-2, Rick Dempsey, brought in because Nolan got injured, starting catcher. Dempsey gets a 2-run single to extend the lead to 5-2. And now you're thinking, that's the end of the series. Tippy Martinez is asked to get a 2-inning save this time. A hit and walk K in the 8th. He's a relief 3, so we can go 3 innings. In the 9th inning, Boston, Carlton Fisk leads off with a walk. Then John Tamargo, 2 years ago, the Boston World Series hero, gets a double. 2nd and 3rd, Butch Hobson walks to load the bases with nobody out. How many times has this happened in this series, folks? Bases loaded, nobody out in a 5-2 game. Tippy Martinez, the top of the lineup. Oster, 3-finger salute. Dwight Evans, the whiff. And then with 2 outs, Freddie Lynn. Strike 3, you're out. Tippy Martinez loads the bases with nobody out, and then he strikes out the side to preserve a 5-2 win for the Orioles. And my goodness, this Red Sox team is going to have a losing record, but you could say they are still one of the best teams in Strat-O-Matic and just have lost too many nail-biters to the Yankees and to the Orioles in this season here, in this timeline here. And let's go look at, here we are. Baltimore wins this series 3-1. The road team won 3 out of the 4 games in the series. The Orioles are in the playoffs. They have clinched A wild card spot. Currently 5 over 500. The Yankees have won the division. The Red Sox have been eliminated and are arguably the best 14-17 team I've ever seen in Strat. And then we have one more wild card to determine. The Brewers are sitting on top of it. They need to defend this last wild card spot by facing the Twins, who could steal it away. And the Expos are watching with interest to see if their 15-12 record can sneak them into the playoffs. It's been a fun American League finish here in the East. Don't look at that Red Sox 5 games back. They were right there and just had 4 games decided in the 9th inning in a row. And they lost 3 out of 4 of them. So, tough break for Boston this year. But shed no tears for the Red Sox. They won the World Series 2 years ago. And they, of course, we know didn't win anything during this timeline. And the Orioles won it last year. The Yankees have not won a thing. And now this is a year where they have to prove that all that 77, 78, 76, 77, 78, 80, and 81 stuff was legit. That's it today, folks. Congratulations, Baltimore Orioles. 3-1 victors over Boston in the playoffs. We'll see you next time.